This episode is brought to you by Marshalls, where you never have to compromise between quality and price. The buyers at Marshalls hustle hard, working to bring you great deals on brand name and designer pieces. Because Marshalls believes everyone deserves access to the good stuff. Visit a Marshalls store near you or shop online at marshalls.com.
What if the secret to stronger bones, deeper friendships, and aging better was as simple as putting one foot in front of the other? Hey everyone, I'm Barbara, and this is Age Better. Before we dive in, a quick favor, please. If you enjoy Age Better, please hit that follow button and also consider leaving a quick review. Every follow and comment helps more people discover the show and join our movement to age better. Okay, today we're doing something a little different, something special. As a longtime board member and now special advisor to the Bone Health and Osteoporosis Foundation, I'm thrilled to share a conversation I had with BHOF CEO Claire Gill about something I'm incredibly passionate about, our new Be Bone Strong walking clubs. You all know my story, how a bone density diagnosis at 50 became the wake-up call that launched me into running and then running marathons. And in fact, I managed the growing Be Bone Strong marathon teams for BHOF. But due to getting a little older, I have some mild arthritis in my knee. And so a lot of my running days have been replaced with walking days. And look, I love a good party. So I've been inviting people in my neighborhood to join me. And voila, the country's first BHOF Be Bone Strong Walking Club was formed. And now we're rolling them out across the country. They're not your typical fitness groups. They're community builders, loneliness busters, and bone strengtheners all rolled into one. And in this conversation with Claire, we dive deep into why walking clubs are game changers for bone health and so much more. Whether you're looking to protect your bones, maybe make new friends, or find your tribe of people who are aging powerfully and with purpose, this episode is going to inspire you to take that first step. All right, everyone, get ready to age better.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Bone Talk. I'm Claire Gill, CEO of the Bone Health and Osteoporosis Foundation. Today, we're spotlighting the Bone Health and Osteoporosis Foundation's new Be Bone Strong Walking Clubs, an exciting national initiative designed to help people stay active, support their bone health, and connect with others. Whether you're a seasoned walker or just thinking about the first step, we'll explore how easy it is to start a walking club in your own community. Our guest today is Barbara Hannah-Gufferman, a nationally recognized advocate for positive aging, award-winning author, and passionate promoter of an active lifestyle. She's also a former board member of the Bone Health and Osteoporosis Foundation. She's completed 17 marathons, numerous half marathons, and countless other races, all after turning 50. And she has inspired thousands of people to embrace movement and aging with strength and optimism. Barbara is the author of Love Your Age and The Best of Everything After 50, the host of the Age Better podcast, and a trusted voice on menopause, fitness, and well-being. She also publishes the Menopause Cheat Sheet, a popular weekly newsletter. Barbara now serves as special advisor to the board of the Bone Health and Osteoporosis Foundation and is team captain of the Be Bone Strong initiative, where she's leading the charge to bring walking clubs to communities across the country. Welcome back, Barbara. So great to have you here.
Claire, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here, especially to talk about something I am truly passionate about, helping people move more, connect more, and take better care of their bones. You know, I always like to say that aging well isn't just about adding years to your life. Well, no, it's about adding life to those years, right? And as it turns out, nothing does that better than movement. And you know what? Guess what else? Especially when it's done with others.
Yeah. And I'm so excited to have you talking about walking. We've been talking a lot about the marathons that you lead, the BHOF marathons team, but it's really exciting to be talking about the new walking clubs. So, Barbara, just for people who may not remember or don't know, or if they're new to the podcast, You've had a really inspiring journey from writing books to, as I mentioned, running marathons and championing healthy aging. Tell us a little bit more about how you got started and what led you to become this passionate advocate for movement and bone health.
Yeah, well, it really began with my own wake-up call after turning 50. I was postmenopausal, as a lot of women are at the age of 50, 51, 52. And while walking my dog one day, just a regular walk, I tripped, fell, and broke my arm. It was many, many months later when my doctor encouraged me to get a DEXA test. Of course, when he recommended that, my first thing was, what's that? And so I did get it. It's a bone density test, as we know. And that's when I found out I had low bone density, also known as osteopenia. And that's when I realized I really needed to take charge of my health. I started running and strength training and eating better and learning everything I could about how to age well. And that journey led me to, as you mentioned, writing a few books about positive aging. And the more I researched, the more I kept coming back to this one simple truth that movement is medicine. But it wasn't until I became involved with the Bone Health and Osteoporosis Foundation that I truly understood how critical bone health is. In fact, as you know, Claire, 1 in 2 women over 50 will break a bone due to osteoporosis, and fractures, especially hip fractures, can be life-altering. My own mother fell and broke her hip, and for 3 years, we watched her mental and physical decline until she passed away in 2021. So for all of these reasons, I knew I had to get the word out and do something about it.
Yeah, and we're so glad that you've been partnering with our organization for so many years to do this. So again, we know the benefits of walking and running, but what eventually led you to focus so strongly on walking as a way to support bone health?
Oh, yes. Well, as you also mentioned, I've run a few marathons in my day since turning 50, about 17 at this point, and I do love running. I hated it, and then I turned into loving it. But, you know, as often happens when you put that much stress on your body over and over and over again, because I was always training for something, I did have an injury. And this was about less than a year ago. So, of course, I had to slow down and rethink how I stay active, because I had to stay active, of course. I need to kind of walk the talk. And it's a process that I like to write about and talk about. It's a process called reassessing and tweaking. So I knew that with this injury, plus some knee pain from arthritis, also very common, that I had to do a little reassessing and a little tweaking. And that's when I rediscovered the power of walking. And, you know, it's accessible. It's low cost. It's one of the most effective weight-bearing exercises we have for protecting our bones. Research backs this up, Claire. Studies show that walking just 30 minutes a day, that's nothing, can help maintain bone density, especially in the hips and the spine. And a large study published in the American Journal of Public Health found that women who walked regularly had listen to this, 40% lower risk of hip fractures. That's really big. I mean, that's huge. And so what happened with me is walking became my daily ritual, my reset button. But to be honest, it got a little boring. I mean, I love listening to podcasts or listening to music or just listening to my own head and, you know, in my head, like having conversations and my problem solving and all that really good stuff. But that's when I had a little bit of a light bulb moment. I thought to myself, what if we made walking more social? And that's when the idea of the Be Bone Strong walking clubs really took off. But there's another reason, Claire, too. BHOF, as you mentioned, started a New York City marathon team, the Be Bone Strong team, back in 2017. And I'm honored to serve as the team captain and manage the team. Very excited about that. But we've expanded our marathon participation. So last year, we also had a Berlin marathon team. And then this year, we've added the Sydney marathon team. So it's very exciting. And we hope to continue to expand the marathon footprint. But we also realize, because here's the reality, that not everyone runs marathons. And in fact, not everyone runs. I don't even know if I'll be running again. We'll see, TBD. But almost everyone can walk. So we decided to expand the Be Bone Strong initiative to go beyond running to include walking.
Well, I'm finally getting around to something that I'm capable of.
We're all capable of.
Run a marathon. Even if I were able to, I don't think I'd want to run a marathon, but the walking club is such a great idea. So let's talk a little bit about the process and how it happened. So again, you mentioned you launched the first Be Bone Strong Walking Club in Virginia Beach, but tell our listeners about what that looked like. From how did you get started? Where did you recruit people? And then what's happening now?
Right. I live in New York City, but I do go back and forth between New York and Virginia Beach. And so it all started with a few neighbors. And I go to this little beach community called Croatan. It's in Virginia Beach. And so I just put the word out because I also realized that while I spend some time there, I don't really know my neighbors. So that was number one. So it was really a kind of a let me connect with them sort of thing. And so I put the word out. I said, hey, do you want to walk together on Saturday mornings? Luckily, the Croatan has a Croatan Civic League and they have email addresses. So they were able to help me get the word out. So that was very, very helpful,
Yeah.
I must say. So we decided on a date, a start place that was very convenient for most people. And I just hoped that people would show up. Well, 25 people showed up that day on the very first, yes. And we have about 45 people currently signed up. We do have their email addresses, and so I can communicate with them, not just on the walk day, but throughout the week when I want to share information and the like. But so we walked for an hour, chatted, and felt fantastic afterwards. So week after week, more and more people showed up. Some came for the movement, some for the company, but all left feeling better. And as I said, I've asked everyone to sign up. So I do have their email addresses, in some cases, their texts, so I can text with them. And that's really important. You want to be able to, if you're going to lead a walking club, you want to be able to stay in touch with them in some way, in case there's inclement weather or something happens, and so on and so forth. And I do always like to push them. And I always say, I'm nagging you with love in my heart, everyone, but I really hope to see all of you on Saturday in our next walk. So we do have we have like a core group now. And I'm thrilled to say that what started as a neighborhood stroll we're starting to turn into a national movement. And BHOF is developing a plan now to help launch these clubs in communities everywhere. And the goal is simple. It is this: get more people moving more often in ways that will support their health and their bones.
Well, it's really, again, like you said, it's so easy, it's accessible. Not only that, but as we know, the building of a community, that getting to know your neighbors these days is really, really important and so good for our health, for our mental health as well as our physical health, which is so important. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about what about for people who might be interested in this, but they haven't done rigorous exercise or even structured fitness in a very long time. Why is this such a good option for them?
Why is it? Well, for starters, it's so doable. As you just we can all do it. I mean, most of us can do it, of course, except for those who have true issues and cannot walk, but most of us can. So it's doable. And you don't need fancy equipment or a gym membership or any kind of special training. You just need a good pair or a decent pair of shoes and a willingness to take that first step, right? You just have to take that first step. And Claire, as you know, walking is weight bearing, which is key for bone health. And it's easy on the joints. And that's important to me. I mentioned I do have a little bit of a stress fracture. That's the injury. But I also have mild arthritis in both of my knees, very age appropriate. So it makes it perfect for people managing arthritis, injuries, or even balance concerns. In fact, the CDC recommends, as we know, 150 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity each week. And walking is one of the easiest ways to meet that goal. And also, there are different ways you can walk. You can walk slowly, you can walk quickly, you can do both, which is something I've been doing recently. It's an import from Japan. It's like 3 minutes of speed walking and then 3 minutes of normal walking. And you do that back and forth for about 30 minutes. And it does wonders for your VO2 max and your heart health and all kinds of stuff. But walking has been shown to reduce the risk of chronic illnesses like heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and even cognitive decline while supporting bone and muscle strength. And best of all, it's something most people can stick with because it does become a part of your life, not a chore. And bonus, weather permitting, you can get outdoors, which is always a good thing. And you can choose to either walk solo, like I sometimes do, or listen to a podcast or music or talk on the phone. I like to talk to my daughters, both of whom live in other cities, or just listen to the sounds of nature. Or, and this is kind of key to the walking clubs, you can invite a few friends to join you, and then it becomes a social event and a very healthy one. So check, checks all those boxes.
So let's talk a little bit more then about that. So I imagine with 25 people or 45 people signed up, when they all show up, you've probably got people at different speeds, different desires about how they do it. So as a walking club, what do you do, Barbara? You just let people go at their own pace and they naturally form into smaller groups walking together? And
that's an excellent question.
Route? Like, how does that work?
Yep, that's an excellent question. And the way we've handled this is we didn't know. Like, you don't know until you have the people show up, until the walkers show up. And then you start walking, and then you get a sense of what you're dealing with and how people, what their pace is, what their ability is. Their age might have something to do with it. And so we have a mantra, a motto, if you will, no walker left behind. So we never leave a walker behind. So if someone is slower than some people who want to be speedy, then we make sure someone is with them. Good. Or a few people with them. So we just never do. So we can split up into pace groups. And quite frankly, that's what you do with running clubs. I also belong to a running club, although I'm not running with them at the moment. But that's what we do. We have different pace leaders. Another critical component, if you are considering being a leader of a walking club, is you must have a co-pilot, at least one, preferably two. And so that person will be your backup if in the event you can't be there. As I mentioned, I go back and forth between Virginia and New York. I'm not always in Virginia. I'm sometimes in New York walking. And so my co-pilot will be my backup. She's always there as well. But also this is very helpful when you have different paces. So she and I will often switch on and off. I'll stick with the speedy ones. She'll go with the slower ones. But it's important that you never let people feel intimidated or unwanted or, oh, gee, I'm not fast enough.
Right.
That's really important. This is inclusive, capital I. Yeah.
That's great. And like you said, that makes the club part, right?
Absolutely.
The fun part. So did you, like for that first one, do you have a route that you go to? Do you do the same thing? Do you choose different areas to walk around? How have you been doing it?
It's really so interesting. Sometimes we stay within the neighborhood. The Croatan neighborhood is interesting, and it's a pretty kind of closed up neighborhood. One side of it is the ocean, and then the other side is the road. There's only one road in, one road out. And then on one end is a bay, so you can't go any further. On the other side is a naval base, so you can't go any further. So we're a little bit contained, and so which makes it interesting. And so we do on occasion stay within Croatan and then walk around. And I've had people say to me, oh my gosh, I've lived here 20 years and I've never been down that block. And I thought that was fascinating. Right?
It's so true, right? And the same thing, you tend to know our neighbors, like most immediate neighbors, maybe the block. But when you get into the community, there's so many more interesting people to meet. So
yes, but we do often go out of Croatan, and we're very fortunate in that we're just a mile away from the ocean front that has a very walkable boardwalk. And so we'll walk on the boardwalk, and we aim for 3 to 4 miles. I always ask when we hit 3 miles before or 1.5 miles before it's time to turn around and go back and backpedal. But I always ask, hey, everyone, do you want to continue on a little bit? Should we aim for 4? So I always check in with my group to see what they're feeling like that day based on weather and whatever. But we do aim for 3 to 4 miles. Sometimes we've gone to 5. So it just depends upon the vibe of the group of the day.
Yeah, great. What the weather's like.
Totally.
That kind of stuff. Yeah, that makes total sense. So you've been doing it for a little while. What have you observed? What's the vibe like within the group? And is it doing what you thought it would do? Like making people feel more connected? What's the feedback you've been getting?
Yeah, it's really been, I think, a beautiful surprise. Like I said, I really did it a little bit for myself. I'm not saying I was selfish about it, but I was really like, I want some company. Hey, maybe other people want to do this walk too, right? And well, luckily the answer was yes. So really, one of the most beautiful surprises for me was that people really are craving connection, and they're really craving in real life connection.
Mm.
We all have opportunities to do things on social media, on Zoom, and other ways that are not in real life, but this is in real life. So that's number one, especially after the isolation of the last 5 years. So we're not surprised about that. And many who have joined our walks have said, I came for the exercise, but I stayed for the friendship and the fun. And we
Oh,
do have fun. I know, it's so lovely. And I've gotten to know these people so much better. And I've heard one-on-one privately from other walkers in our group that I've lived down the street from so-and-so for a few years, and I never got to really know that person
right.
until we took this walk and we hung out together. So it's been a wonderful social connection that I feel very proud about that.
Yeah.
And we know, like, there's this loneliness issue that's going on. I don't know if that's the case necessarily with this group, but we know it's there. We know it's out there, especially when people get older. And that I did an episode on my podcast about this, about the Harvard study of adult development, which is the longest running study on happiness and aging. The number one predictor of healthy aging is not diet or income. It's actually social connection.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's just incredible.
Yeah.
So I believe that there are many routes to that, but this is one way to get there.
Yeah.
Here's another thing that I find very interesting about this is that in my mind, this was very much a neighborhood initiative, not so much a city initiative.
Right.
It's not a Virginia Beach, because Virginia Beach is huge.
Yeah.
It's a neighborhood thing, because I want people to like just step outside their homes, go a few blocks maybe, and then that's the meeting point.
Right.
That's really what I envision. And zillions of those around the country. And I also think, well, there could be others in Virginia Beach, and maybe once a month or so, we'll all like drive somewhere to like the state park and meet up for a big group walk.
Yeah.
That's kind of the vision. But I view this as like a micro walking club, if that makes sense to you. That's how I envision it.
It does. And I think, again, I'm so grateful that you've brought this to BHOF, because I think that is something that is really important as we talk about bone health and skeletal health and healthy aging. It is about what can people do and how do we foster that type of connectedness and good, healthy habits, right? And so this is a great way to sort of bring that to life. And as you said, in real life, or IRL, as my teenager says.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say to someone listening who's curious, but maybe a little bit hesitant about starting a walking club? How do you help the person take that first step into creating a walking club?
Yeah, don't overthink it. I started to overthink it, and I said, this is ridiculous. Just go and put it out there and let's see what happens. It's one of those things. What's the worst that could happen is that nobody shows up, and then maybe you move on or try a different way to get their attention. So don't overthink it. And you don't need to be a fitness expert. I'm not a fitness expert. I just like to run and be active. That's what I do. And you just need to take that first step. So all it takes is, it's so simple. Just pick a start date.
Yeah.
Pick a date. Pick a route for that, knowing that it'll change. As I mentioned, we change our route. I change it up, make it interesting. So pick a route for that first time, and then just put the invitation out there. Now, how you do that really depends on what your neighborhood is like. Do you have a Facebook group? A lot of neighborhoods do.
Yeah.
Are you on like one of those next door? That app Next Door? I think communities all around the country are part of Next Door. Or you might do flyers and put them into your neighbors' mailboxes, whatever works for you, right? And we also do have a toolkit that you can download. So if you go to BHOF's website, you will be able to kind of take a look at that toolkit to kind of give you all of the tips and tools, some of which I've already mentioned, like having that co-pilot, just getting started, don't get in your own way and just have fun with it. And you can also reach out to me directly if you want. And I would love to hear from you. Truly, nothing would bring me greater joy than to share with you what I've learned and to help you get started. And you can email me at Bone Walking Club. Pretty straightforward. BoneStrongWalkingClub@gmail.com. And we will help you. The CDC says, Claire, that walking is the most popular form of physical activity in America. I mean, sure.
Right.
It's the most accessible thing, and for good reason. So really the goal here is to make it a little more intentional. Like, okay, at 8 a.m. on Saturday, I'm going to go and I'm going to go for this 3 to 4 mile walk. And a little more social, I'm going to bring people with me. And a lot more powerful for our bone health.
Yeah.
Right?
It's also a little bit of accountability too, as much as it's social.
It is.
Right? Being able to do that. And I often talk about when we did an event in New York that you hosted, and we brought together a lot of our community in New York for an event. And you had a doctor from the Hospital of Special Surgery who was the keynote presentation. And he said the number one indicator of whether someone will stick with an exercise or movement plan is doing it with others. And that's really resonated with me because I prefer to do it alone. And I thought to myself, oh man, I'm going to have to find ways to make it social because that, like science, like you said, science shows that when you do movement and exercise and stuff with other people, you tend to keep at it. And so this club is a great way to do that.
It really, really is. I mean, I think like some Saturdays I wake up and I think, wouldn't it be nice just to kind of roll back, stay in bed a little bit? But it is accountability, as you put it, Claire.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, no, right? I've got people who are expecting to see me. I'm going to be there.
Yeah. And it's not pressure. It's just that little nudge we all need to be like, oh, you know what? I do want to go see Barbara. I'm going to go get out of the house today. So I love that about it. So you talked a little bit about the vision for your Virginia Beach Club and kind of maybe moving from your community to all of Virginia Beach kind of stuff. What's the big vision that we've talked through about for BHOF and all of these kinds of things? Where do you see these walking clubs in the next year, the next 5 years?
Oh, big vision. Yeah. Walking clubs in every state for sure. Neighborhoods, really neighborhoods. Again, as I said earlier, I really view this as a micro initiative. I really do. I mean, it could change, it could evolve, but that's how I view it right now. So retirement communities, city parks, anywhere people can gather and walk. I'd love to see hundreds of clubs, thousands of people walking weekly or more, by the way. It doesn't have to be once a week. It can be whatever you and your walkers want, supporting their bones, their bodies, and each other. And, supporting each other. Yeah. That is a critical component. These people who walk every week have gotten closer in ways that I think even they couldn't have imagined, a few months ago. And then on a regular basis, I see us all coming together via Zoom. Now, I know that in real life is not always possible, especially when people are many, many states away from each other. But I see us coming together via Zoom chats or webinars, and perhaps inviting a leading fitness and health expert and into the conversation to answer questions. And this is maybe part of the club benefit, if you will, by joining up. And I truly see this as bone building and community building too, but not just then on the micro, because then we're talking about macro. Right. We're talking about really building community. And who knows, maybe someone who belongs to the Croatan Walking Club travels over to visit a relative somewhere in New Hampshire, and bingo, there's Bone Strong. That's what I really envision. And I want to see us reframe aging. I always want to see us reframe aging. That is an ongoing goal. That's an ongoing goal for me. And that is something to dread or to just say, oh, well, this is how it is. So I'm just going to put that proverbial blanket over my head. No, but as an opportunity to get stronger, more connected, and therefore more empowered. And these walking clubs, Claire, right? They're a powerful way to start that shift.
Yeah.
Can you just imagine the ripple effect on public health, on loneliness, on fall prevention? Because we didn't even mention one of the benefits of walking is not only kind of maintaining bone density, but it helps with your balance practice
That's right.
and your overall well-being. And that's the kind of movement I am very proud to be a part of.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it's so necessary. And I do see it as being something that will really inspire people and give them something to look forward to. And just as I said, there's so much good we can do. And here's just one more example of how we can do good, as you said, at the community level and being able to help people get these clubs going. Well, as you said, Barbara, we'll make sure that with the notes of this podcast, we have a link to the toolkit that you helped us develop. So that, again, kind of gives the tips and help for everybody who might be wanting to get this started or to encourage someone else to get it started if you don't want to.
Yeah, that's true. It doesn't have to be you. It does not have to be you. It can be somebody else in your neighborhood, or it can be a relative living in your house.
That's right. Really. Anybody can do it. So we'll make sure that we do that. And again, it's such a great opportunity to just have consistent movement that makes such a big difference for our bone health and overall health. And as always, for more information on how to keep your bones strong and healthy for life, visit us at bonehealthandosteoporosis.org. And as Barbara mentioned, if you'd like to reach out to her directly and get some inspiration, guidance, support in creating your own walking club, as Barbara mentioned, you can reach her directly at bebonestrongwalkingclub@gmail.com. Thanks again, Barbara, for being an inspiration to all of us and for all the work you're doing to empower people to move more, to age better, and to build stronger bones for life. I hope everyone enjoyed this podcast. I hope you'll all consider your own walking club. But also, please do two things. Subscribe to Bone Talk so you never miss an episode. And please share this podcast with all your friends and family. Thanks again, Barbara, for being here.
Thanks for having me, Claire. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode of Age Better Podcast, please do a few things. First, share it with all your friends and family. Then, subscribe to Age Better wherever you listen to podcasts, including YouTube, so you never miss a single episode. Finally, if you have ideas for topics you want me to cover in a future episode of Age Better, send an email to agebetterpodcast@gmail.com. or reach out to me on social media. Until next time, remember this: we can't control getting older, but we can control how we do it. Talk to you soon. Age Better Podcast is a proud member of the Sound Advice Network. Sound Advice, women's voices amplified.